Bucs fans, I'm your host, Dana Morales, and today I'm going to put on my general manager cap because I'm going to give you guys a way too early 53-man roster prediction for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the season was to begin today, who do I think would make the cut, make the roster? I'll explain that. Cade Otton, tight end, is entering the final year of his rookie contract. What will his future contract numbers look like? We'll explain that if the Buccaneers decide to extend him. Madden has released all the ratings for Madden 26, so we'll go over a few key Buccaneers players that I want to highlight. And lastly, teams have released a lot of new NFL alternative uniforms this offseason. I'm going to rank them from worst to best, all that and more on this episode of Fear the Bay. Today, I'm basically going to be Jason Light. I'm basically the general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I'm going to give you guys my way too early prediction for who's going to make this roster. Again, this is my prediction. These are my beliefs. And a lot can happen between right now and the actual, beginning of the season. This is pre-game number 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, on August 7th, you have the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, coming into Tampa Bay. They're going to have a joint practice, so I believe that's actually when you're going to see most of the starters get their reps out there when they're doing these joint practices, controlled environment. And I believe the game on August 9th, you're going to see most of the second team, third team players out there for the Buccaneers. But still, Buccaneers football is back basically this Saturday, August 9th. Then the Buccaneers are going to hold another joint practice the following week with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to be up there in Pittsburgh. They're also going to have the second preseason game against them. And in week 3 of the preseason, the Buccaneers are going against the Buffalo Bills. No joint practice for that one. The Buccaneers will see the Buffalo Bills in the regular season also. So a lot can happen when we're doing these way too early predictions. A lot can happen right now from this moment to the time when the cuts have to begin. Players can be, get injured. Players can come back quicker than expected, like Chris Godwin, Tristan Wirfs. To that extent, players can be traded. So a lot of things, players could be signed also. So we might have some new additions to this roster. A lot of things can happen between right now and the time when cuts are actually to begin. But I'm going to go over if the season was to begin today, who do I think makes the cut? So let's start off with the offense and start off with quarterbacks. So 2024, 2023, the Buccaneers kept 2 quarterbacks. 2022, the Buccaneers kept 3 quarterbacks on the roster. That was Tom Brady, Blaine Gabbert, Kyle Trask. I believe the Buccaneers are just going to hold 2 quarterbacks on the roster this year. Those 2 being very obvious, of course. You have Baker Mayfield, the franchise quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, guy who brings moxie, energy. The crowd loves him. The fans, of course, the players love him. The coaching staff, the front office, everybody loves Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. He's going to stay here in Tampa for a very long time. So who's going to be the quarterback too? That one's pretty obvious as well. Also, Kyle Trask. So I believe, also real quick, Baker Mayfield, he suffered a hand contusion. Rick Stroud, Pure Report, Jenna Lane, Greg Allman, all the top reporters in Tampa, they reported that during the, I believe it was a night practice that the Buccaneers held last week, Baker Mayfield hit his hand on somebody's helmet. And that stuff, that caused a hand contusion. He has some soreness, some bruising. But Todd Bowles explained that Baker Mayfield should be good this week when the Buccaneers start practice. There's no practice on Monday, but the Buccaneers return on Tuesday, tomorrow. So 2 quarterbacks, I believe that the Buccaneers are going to keep on their roster. Now let's go to the running back position. So in 2024, last year, the Buccaneers had 3 running backs on the roster. 2023 and 2022, they kept 4 on the roster. This year, I think they stick with the 3, and those 3 being Bucky Irving, who has looked really good in the training camp, hoping he doesn't take a sophomore slump, but not even Josh Grizzard believes he's going to take a sophomore slump. He believes that he's even, light years ahead from where he was this time last year, of course, just getting into the league. Rashad White has slimmed down. He looks good out there. He looks like he's playing with a fire underneath him. He looks like he's playing with this fire underneath him, man. He's out there. He's hungry, and he wants to show the NFL. He wants to put on good tape for the rest of the league if the Buccaneers don't decide to re-sign him, or if he wants to go play somewhere else and try to be their RB1. And then Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker is a running back who I believe is going to get more carries this year. He looked good last year when he played against the New Orleans Saints and won NFC Player of the Week. But I believe the Buccaneers keep 3 running backs this year, not a 4th running back. Let's go now to the wide receiver position. So this one is, very deep. This is the deepest room in on this roster. 2022, the Buccaneers kept 7 wide receivers during the final cuts. In the last 2 years, they've only kept 5 wide receivers. So I'm going to stick with the 5 wide receiver kind of format that they've ran through with in the last 2 years that they've ran with. So we know that Chris Godwin is still nursing and rehabbing from that dislocated ankle injury that he suffered last year against the Baltimore Ravens. So in this way too early prediction, I have him still on the PUP list. So that would mean that he's going to start the season on the PUP list and miss out the first 4 games of the season. Now, I hope that he can come back quicker, but there is no rush to bring him back when you have a wide receiver room that is as stacked, maybe the deepest wide receiver room in the entire league. So the Buccaneers, I have them keeping 5 wide receivers on their final 53-man roster. Mike Evans, the rookie Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, first-round pick, who is not, obviously, we see now, is not a luxury pick, and he looks really good out there in practice. I was really impressed with what I saw. He catches everything. He's a smart guy, knows the bulk of the offense already, has Chris Godwin as his mentor. So I'm really excited to see him once the season starts. Again, he's playing in that Chris Godwin role. You have Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan on the outside. You have Emeka Egbuka playing the Chris Godwin slot role in Josh Grizzard's offense. Third wide receiver, Jalen McMillan, who I believe is going to take another step forward in his second year. Of course, he had 8 touchdowns as a rookie. Tez Johnson, 7th round pick. He really impressed me. I think he's going to make most of his impact on special teams, but I do believe, obviously, he's going to make this roster. And for the 5th wide receiver, it's pretty deep. You have guys like Cameron Johnson, Raheem Jarrett, Garrett Green, who was the quarterback for West Virginia, who converted over to wide receiver. You have Trey Palmer, who's kind of a forgotten man now. There's a lot of guys who are competing for that final roster spot at the wide receiver position. I think Sterling Shepard's going to have the notch over those players. He has the experience. He has that camaraderie. He has that connection with Baker Mayfield. He looked impressive out there. There was one play, I believe it was day number 2, I believe, of Buccaneers training camp when I got a chance to go out there. He had a very nice sideline catch. He had a few good plays throughout the 2 days, day number 2, day number 3 when I was out there. But Sterling Shepard has been an impressive player during camp. Going into the season, I didn't think with how deep the wide receiver room was, I didn't think Sterling Shepard really had a chance. Maybe he was there, but I think now he's going to make the roster. He'll be the 5th and final wide receiver that the Buccaneers keep until Chris Godwin gets back and that room expands a bit. All right, tight end position. This one is very simple. The Buccaneers added no new additions to the tight end room. For the last 3 years, 2022, 2023, 2024, the Buccaneers have kept 4 tight ends on their roster. I believe they're going to keep 4 again. It's going to be the same exact 4 that we had last year. So Cade Otton being that tight end 1, he's entering the contract year. I'll talk later on about his future contract numbers. We have Devin Cope, who for me, Devin Cope has been a breakout guy during training camp. He's fast out there. He looks like he's a better route runner. He's making some nice impact catches. I think he's building that trust with Baker Mayfield that you need. If you can't trust your tight ends, you can't trust your receivers, you're not going to throw to them in crucial situations. But Devin Cope looks like he's taking that next step up, and I think he can get the tight end 2 position over Payne Durham, who, no knock on Payne Durham, but I think he's a guy who you can have in the red zone. He's coming in as more of a blocking tight end this year. So Cade Otton as your tight end 1, Devin Cope, I think he can win that tight end 2 position. He looks really athletic out there, very fast. He's a mixed match, as Baker Mayfield said. You can't really have a linebacker on him. You're going to need to bring over a safety, and that frees up another wide receiver or another tight end on this offense. And lastly, the 4th tight end to round out this room is going to be Code Keefe. So the Buccaneers, for a 4th straight year, would keep 4 tight ends on their roster. So let's go now to the offensive line to finish up the offense. So in 2022, the Buccaneers kept 10 offensive linemen. In 2023, they kept 9. 2024, they kept 9. So I'm going to stick with the 9 here also. So I believe the Buccaneers are going to keep 9 offensive linemen. And again, you have Tristan Wirfs, who is out with his right knee injury. He's still out there in crutches. So as of right now, it doesn't appear like he's going to be ready for week 1. I think that would be, amazing if he's ready for week 1, but I don't think that is going to happen. So I think he starts off on the PUP list, just like I have Chris Godwin projected to start off on the PUP list. So let's go through those 9 offensive linemen who I believe are going to make the roster. Of course, you have the first round draft pick out of Duke from last year, Graham Barton, the center. He makes his team, of course. There is no question there. And I think we're going to see a new, improved Graham Barton. I remember Bowles talking about when he got a chance to talk to media a few days ago, saying that he wants to see the Graham Barton. He's excited to see the Graham Barton that the Buccaneers drafted. He's not going to have to think as much out there. He's going to just play, offense. He's going to play on that offensive line, protect Baker Mayfield. There's less thinking. There's more communicating. He wants to be a better communicator out there, a more vocal communicator. But I could see Graham Barton definitely taking the next step. I also believe they had him out there at left tackle. This was an emergency situation. Graham Barton was practicing a few plays at left tackle with Ben Bredesen coming in as the center. So moving over from left guard to center. All right, Jake Majors. Jake Majors, he's an undrafted free agent out of Texas. Center, I believe that he's going to make this roster. He's been working as a second team, primarily as a second team center. So I think the Buccaneers are going to want to keep him around. You don't have Robert Hainsey anymore, but you do have a true center with Jake Majors. Ben Bredesen. Ben Bredesen being the third offensive lineman that the Buccaneers have here. He's the left guard, starting left guard on this team. The Buccaneers re-signed him over the offseason to, I believe, a 3-year deal. You have Cody Mauch, the right guard, of course, making this roster. Elijah Klein. Elijah Klein is a very versatile offensive lineman. I like him. He can play really all of the spots on this offensive line. He can play tackle. He can play guard. They have him move around. I believe he can replace center. So he's a very versatile piece. A guy who the Buccaneers are going to continue to develop. They brought him in last year, late round pick, and the Buccaneers are just going to continue to develop, continue to mold him into eventually possibly a starting offensive lineman on this team. But he has really good potential, and I like him as more of that developmental player and that guy who, as of this point right now, if you need somebody to come in right away, he's a guy who can fill really any spot on the offensive line. Luke Gadecki, right tackle, making the team, of course, there's no question there. He's becoming one of the better right tackles in the league. So Buccaneers have 2. Once Tristan Wirfs gets back, they have 2 good bookends, really solid bookend tackles with Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gadecki on the right side. Charlie Heck. So Charlie Heck, of course, has been filling in at left tackle for Tristan Wirfs. I'm really interested to see how he's going to do in the preseason. Day number 2 and day number 3 of training camp when I was out there was no pads yet. So now the pads have been on, but I haven't got a chance to see that. But I will get a chance to see the preseason with Charlie Heck out there. So I'm excited to see how he's going to perform. For the 8th offensive lineman that the Buccaneers are keeping, I believe it's going to be Tyler McLennan. He is the new offensive lineman that the Buccaneers brought in, I believe it was a week or 2 ago at this point. But he was the undrafted free agent that the Chargers brought in last year. He suffered an injury during the preseason. The Buccaneers brought him in now once the Chargers cut him. He's playing tackle. I believe they had him over at right tackle during the second team offense. But he's a guy who I believe Josh Capel, Real Bucs Talk, has put out a bit of film, all 22 film on him. And I've liked what I've seen so far of his past tape. All right, and then the 9th and final offensive lineman to make this roster, I believe it's going to be Raekwon O'Neal. Now, a lot can change between now and the start of the season. But Raekwon O'Neal has been a guy who the Buccaneers have been moving around a bit. He's a tackle who can play inside at guard, and also the Buccaneers had him taking snaps as a third-team center. So he's a guy who can, really versatile guy, a guy you can have move around. You can plug him and play him wherever you need him. Real versatile. I got a chance to talk to him also after practice on day number 2. Real good guy also there. So those are the the offensive players who I believe makes the 53-man roster. Let's get to the defense now. Bucs fans, want to know how you can help this channel, Fear the Bay, grow and expand? All you have to do is 3 simple things: like, subscribe, and comment. They're quick, They're simple things to do. They're free. And what it does is it helps boost out this content to more Buccaneers fans like yourself. So when YouTube sees you liking, subscribing, and engaging with the content, they boost this content out to more viewers like yourself. So please, if you can, like, subscribe, and comment. That helps me out a lot. And let's get back to the video. We don't want to miss that. All right, let's hit the defensive side of the ball now and special teams afterwards. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, you haven't liked yet, please do that real quick. And if you are already a subscriber and you've already hit the like button, thank you. I truly appreciate you guys. I appreciate all you guys for watching. You guys are really the heartbeat of this channel. For the past 3 years, the Buccaneers have kept under Todd Bowles 6 defensive linemen during these final cuts. So in my way too early 53-man roster prediction, we're going to keep 6 defensive linemen also. So the first is a very obvious one. The top 3 are pretty obvious. You have your top 3 starters on this defensive line, this 3-4 defensive line. Vita Vea, the starting nose tackle. I got to see him in person. I know Joe Bucs fan has been posting a few pictures about Vita Vea. He looks leaner than before. He's still big, but he looks leaner than before. Looks like he's possibly in the best shape of his career. Entering year 8, it's insane to think Vita Vea has been in Tampa already for 8 years, but he has been now. And I know he got a chance in the offseason to work out with Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh has been working with Vita Vea for the last few years, really working on his body in the offseason. So that's a cool bit there. Calijah Kancey is a guy who has very lofty goals, high goals for 2025. He wants to have the most sacks in the league. I don't know if Calijah Kancey can achieve that. Not saying like he doesn't have the potential, but just like that's a very high goal, getting 19 and a half sacks, possibly 20 plus sacks. I think that's pretty high. I think Calijah Kancey, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a wrecking ball on that defensive line for offenses. A guy who can get, I think his ceiling is 11, 12 sacks, and I think that's an extremely productive season for Calijah Kancey if he can achieve 11 to 12 sacks this year in 2025. Again, it all comes down to him staying healthy. If he can stay healthy, I think his potential is, Jason Light, you talked about it he was on the Loose Cannons podcast, I believe, and they asked him about Calijah Kancey, and Calijah Kancey, Jason Light explained that when we look, later down in the year, Calijah Kancey can be, one of the, if not the best 3 technique in the NFL. So, he has high hopes for Calijah Kancey also. It all comes down to, can Calijah Kancey stay healthy? Logan Hall entering his contract year. Logan Hall is a player who I pretty much see as a, new age Will Golston. I think he has more sack production potential than Will Golston had, but they're both good against the run. But the thing that Logan Hall stands out with is he can get to the quarterback. Now, he hasn't got there, consistently, but I would like to see, does he take that next step as he's entering his final year of his rookie deal? Greg Gangs, a guy who has been quality depth for the Bucs defensive line for several years now. Whenever Vita Vea or somebody needs to step out, he's a guy who can step in. The Buccaneers in the 5th round drafted Elijah Roberts out of SMU. Very athletic guy, a guy who can stand up and rush the passer, standing on the edge, or he can be on the defensive line. He's going to primarily be a defensive lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he's a bit of a bigger guy in terms of weight rise than the Buccaneers normally traditionally have at the edge position. So the 6th position on this defensive line was probably one of the hardest for me to pick, really even throughout this entire roster. So there's a few guys who are fighting for that final roster position. The most notable names, you have Mike Green, you have CJ Brewer, and a guy who, I really like now. I've seen a few highlights of his and a bit of film is rookie Devontae Thomas. So, shout out real quick to Louis of the Frozen Pirates podcast. He recently had, a few weeks back, he had Devontae Thomas on. Very good episode. He's a high character guy. You see it in the video. He's a guy who is really good against the run. And he's a guy who as he explained, it was hard for him to get to the quarterback when he had guys like Abdul Carter, getting to the quarterback before him, but he's really solid against the run. I would like to see how he does in the preseason to see, can he fight and win that final defensive line spot on this roster? We'll have to see that. Also, real quick, for the Frozen Pirates podcast, I made an appearance last week on the Frozen Pirates podcast. Make sure you guys check that out and subscribe and like Louis' video. Louis is a really good guy. And also, I'm going to make another appearance on his podcast. By the time this video comes out, I have already made the appearance. It was his show called Around the NFL, and I'll be talking about Baker Mayfield's contract situation. So check that out also at the Frozen Pirate podcast. All right, so I have CJ Brewer getting the final Buccaneers defensive line roster spot. He's a guy who had 2 sacks last year when he came in against the Atlanta Falcons, had 2 sacks there. So Buccaneers, they know what they're getting out of him. They can trust him. But there's a big fight there that he needs to win. If he can solidify his spot, for the final defensive line position over Mike Green, over Devontae Thomas, I think he has the edge there, but it's really, really, really close. This was probably the hardest position, the final roster spot for that position group for me to pick. All right, let's go now to the outside linebacker group, the edge rushers. The Buccaneers, so I had them keeping 6 outside linebackers for the past 2 years. They've kept 6 outside linebackers. In 2022, they only kept 4. So I have them keeping 6 outside linebackers on this roster. We have the injury recently to David Walker. He tore his ACL, 4th round rookie out of Central Arkansas. Big blow. I know Peter Report's Scott Reynolds talked about a comment that Larry Foote told him, and he came up to him once the news broke, and he was like, man, how big of a factor, how much he was going to play on this defense, something to that extent. He was going to be a big part of what the Buccaneers do on defense in 2025. Now he's out, so the Buccaneers have to count on other players to step up. Most notably, Chris Braswell, entering his 2nd year out of the University of Alabama, had 1.5 sacks last year, but looks leaner this year, knows the defense better. So he's a guy to keep an eye out for as preseason comes and as the Buccaneers start the regular season. But outside linebackers, I have the Buccaneers keeping 6. The starters, of course, Hassan Reddick, who has been a good veteran leader for the young pass rushers in that room so far, has looked good, has looked savvy. And then Yaya Diaby, of course, as the other starting outside linebacker. Then we have Anthony Nelson. The Buccaneers decided to re-sign him over the offseason. Really good quality depth. When you put him in there, he's not the flashiest player, but he always seems to make plays really consistent in that end. When you need him in, when you need a guy you can trust and your starters are out, Anthony Nelson has always been quality depth for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Braswell, who I just talked about. And then we have the 5th spot or 4th, whatever. It would have been David Walker, but David Walker out for the season, of course. So 2 guys who are fighting for a roster spot, and it probably would have been just one making it. Now it seems like possibly both can make it. Jose Ramirez and Marquise Watts. So 2 guys who are always competing for, the final roster spot at the edge position. Both of these guys now would make, in my prediction, a 53-man roster. Both of these guys won't have to compete anymore for who makes the roster, because both of them would make the roster in this prediction. All right, let's go now to the inside linebackers. And I have the Buccaneers keeping 4 inside linebackers. The Buccaneers have kept 4 inside linebackers for the past 3 years underneath Todd Bowles and Jason Light, as they've been a tandem together. So Levante David and Servassier Dennis, your 2 starting inside linebackers, no question there. Servassier Dennis hasn't been making those big, interceptions as he has in previous years, but Servassier Dennis explained, as Todd Bowles told him, that he's doing such a good job in coverage that the quarterbacks, you have Baker Mayfield, you have Kyle Trask, you have Connor Blazerick, he's a undrafted free agent rookie. None of them are looking his way. So the reason why he's not getting those interceptions is because they don't want to throw to Servassier Dennis's side, his area, whoever he's covering. They don't want to throw it to him. They want to throw it somewhere else. So that's a really, really good compliment for a inside linebacker in coverage. His PFF pass grade for last year was pretty good. I believe it was in the 70s, but what would have looked like if he gets a full season? I remember he had the shoulder injury last year that, hampered his season and had him out for, a significant part of the season. Deion Jones is a guy that, veteran inside linebacker, has played for the Cleveland Browns, has played for the Atlanta Falcons, most notably. But Deion Jones has looked really good in camp. I know Todd Bowles really likes him. He could play both inside linebacker positions for Todd Bowles' defense. Todd Bowles also explained if they need to in a pickle, they can have, Deion Jones kick out and play nickel in emergency situations. He can also, if the Buccaneers decide to go to a 4-3 defense during the game, Deion Jones can be that third linebacker for the Buccaneers. So really versatile guy, veteran leader. He brings leadership. He brings, know-how, experience into that room. It's a room that besides Savasi Dennis, you have a lot of experience in that room. And lastly, Anthony Walker Jr., who has been injured. We haven't got a chance to see him during training camp. Hopefully he's able to come back sooner rather than later and try to, get familiar with this defense. He can learn on the playbook, but he needs those practice reps in this defense to make sure that if he needs to get in during the game, he's ready, he's prepared. I think right now he would be the linebacker 4, inside linebacker 4, behind Deion Jones, who I would have as the linebacker 3. If the Buccaneers, Savasi Dennis, Alante David need to come out or they get injured for a play, I can see Deion Jones right now, because of how good he's doing in camp, being the guy who steps up and fills their spot. All right, let's go now to the corners. So cornerback, really solid group here for the Buccaneers. Extremely solid. They have a lot of depth. You're not going to see a guy like Tyreek Thunderberg out there this year, I believe. They have so much quality depth. Unless the injury bug really hits them out of nowhere, it hits this corner room. They have a lot of depth on this cornerback room here. So in 2022, the Buccaneers kept 5 cornerbacks. In 2023, they kept 6. And last year, they kept 5 when the final roster cuts occurred. Because it's so deep, I have the Buccaneers keeping 6 cornerbacks in this 53-man roster prediction. Zion McCollum, he's in his contract year. His agent was out there during practice. He wants a new deal. He explained that, he's human. The money does motivate him, and it lights a fire underneath him to play as hard as he possibly can. Jamel Dean, he has a fire underneath him too. So you have your 2 starting corners with fire underneath them, because Jamel Dean, he has a rookie, Benjamin Morrison, right underneath him, who has been sharing some of the first team reps with him. Benjamin Morrison has been making some nice plays, some nice interceptions in training camp so far. So he's been a guy who Todd Bowles, I know, is impressed with. Talked about the fact that Morrison, he has this, intuition. He knows, he can recognize things before they happen. So the Buccaneers really like their rookie corners. Jacob Parrish, I have him as the 4th corner, and I believe he's going to make the most immediate impact out of the 2 rookie corners that the Buccaneers drafted, because of the fact that the Buccaneers have had him out there as the starting nickel, primarily as the starting nickel. So he's a guy who the Buccaneers already trust. They like Jacob Parrish. I know people have talked about the fact that both of these guys, Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish, they come in, they keep their head down, they work. You don't really hear them. You don't have to really talk to them too many times. They do what they have to do. Bryce Hall is the 5th cornerback. The Buccaneers re-signed him. He had the devastating leg injury early in the season last year in 2024. The Buccaneers signed him for the veteran minimum, really close to the veteran minimum in this offseason. Real solid depth piece. I really like Bryce Hall. He's been making a lot of plays at the corner position for the Buccaneers. And another guy who really surprised me in this training camp, who has been playing really well, is Kendall Vildor. So Kendall Vildor, when he signed, Tavier Thomas, he left the Buccaneers in free agency to go play for the Minnesota Vikings. He was more of a special teams guy. So Kendall Vildor, he was playing for the Detroit Lions as their, special teams ace there. He comes over, and I thought, he's just going to be primarily a special teams guy. He's not really ever going to see the field on defense. But he's been making some nice PBUs, some nice interceptions in practice, both Bryce Hall and he has. So I have the Buccaneers keeping 6 corners, and I think it's wide receiver and for defense, cornerback, very solid, very stacked, both of these position groups. All right, so now let's move to safety, okay? So in 2023, this safety group has varied a lot for the Buccaneers and how many they keep when these final cuts happen. So in 2022, the Buccaneers kept 3 safeties when the final cuts occurred. 2022. In 2023, the Buccaneers kept 4 safeties. And last year, 2024, the Buccaneers kept 6 safeties. So there's a lot of variety. There's not really like a framework. Like, for example, tight end, they kept 4 the last few years, wide receiver 5 the last few years. So it kind of varies based on the competition and the players they have in that room. So I have the Buccaneers this time, leaving the preseason, entering the regular season with 5 safeties on their roster. So Antoine Winfield Jr., who has looked tremendous. I think a lot of people have not been talking about him enough. He's going to be a player who gets back to his all-pro form. I believe that he is going to be, regain his status as the top safety in the NFL over guys like Jesse Bates and Kyle Hamilton. I think Antoine Winfield Jr. will, again, he's fully healthy now, solidify himself as the safety number 1 in the NFL if he can stay healthy. Tyke Smith. He has a new partner in Tyke Smith. Tyke Smith moving from the nickel now to safety, playing alongside Antoine Winfield Jr. Antoine Winfield Jr. talked about, nickel and safety, very similar in this defense. It's just now, he's further behind and he's in the middle of the field. Christian Izien, I have Christian Izien making the team, and Todd Bowles has already, this one you can put a marker and you can tattoo this one in. Christian Izien, as Todd Bowles has explained, he has already made this team. He was the undrafted free agent. What was it, last year or the year before? But Christian Izien has been very consistent for the Buccaneers. It was 2 years at this point. This is his 3rd year in the league. Christian Izien has been very consistent for the Buccaneers whenever they need him in. He's a guy who's very versatile out. Also can play safety, can play nickel, can even play outside corner, as the Buccaneers had him do when Bryce Hall went down. They had a lot of injuries at the cornerback position. So Christian Izien, a guy who I really like, very underrated player, but very consistent. He does whatever you need. There's no complaining. He goes, you need to play outside corner, you need to play safety, you need to play nickel. Whatever you need Christian Izien to do, he will do it for you. All right, so there's a lot of competition in this room, and you have a lot of guys behind them who are unproven players. So I have 5 safeties on this roster. For the 4th safety, I'm going to go with J.J. Roberts, the undrafted free agent. So J.J. Roberts has been working, a lot as the second team nickel. So you have Jacob Parrish playing as the primary first team nickel, and J.J. Roberts taking a lot of the snaps as the second team nickel corner. J.J. Roberts, a guy who the Buccaneers really like. Todd Bowles, again, has explained J.J. Roberts can run like a corner. He's as fast as a corner, but he can hit you like a safety. They like his football intelligence. So J.J. Roberts is a guy who I'm really excited to see in the preseason. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of snaps. As a 5th safety, so you have, I think this final roster spot comes down to Shiloh Sanders and Kayvon Merriweather, both of those guys competing. But I believe Kayvon Merriweather has the edge over Shiloh Sanders. Todd Bowles has talked about, how much he likes Kayvon Merriweather. He puts a lot in his play. He trusts him. There was a time last year that the Buccaneers cut him, and Todd Bowles explained, when they eventually bring him back in, and Todd Bowles explained that he thought, he had to have a sit down with Kayvon Merriweather, talk about his play and a few things. And he believed that Todd Bowles hated him at the time, But Kayvon Merriweather is a guy who the Buccaneers likes and Todd Bowles really likes. So he's a guy who I can see making this roster. I know he's made a few plays in training camp as well. So those are 5 safeties: Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith, Christian Izien, J.J. Roberts, and Kayvon Merriweather. Now, injury is going to happen, and let's see, who really makes this roster and who shines out during the preseason. Let's go now. Let's finish up the 53-man roster prediction with the special teams. So this one is pretty simple. Chase McLaughlin for the kicker position. Riley Dixon as the punter. I got a chance to see him throughout the first 2 days. I believe the 3rd day he was kicking, and he had some really, really beautiful, nice kicks. He has a leg on him. The Buccaneers, I think they have found their punter for hopefully the long term here with the veteran Riley Dixon. Has some really, really nice punts out there in practice. Long snapper, Evan Decker. So again, this is the way too early 53-man roster prediction. A lot can happen between right now in this moment, pre-game number 1 of the preseason versus after the final game of the preseason against the Buffalo Bills. Injuries can happen. You guys can get signed. Guys can get cut. Guys can get traded. A lot can happen between right now and the time when the Buccaneers actually have to make these final roster cuts. But I think if the season ends today, these would be the guys who make the roster. I'm excited to see, can Chris Godwin come back possibly and make it to week 1? And what's going on with the Tristan Wirfs injury when the season starts? Is he actually going to be put on the PUP list, or do you think possibly come back a little bit before that, maybe week 3, maybe week 2? You never know with these things, all right? But let's get to our 3 headlines now. Cade Otton is entering the final year of his rookie contract. And if the Buccaneers decide to re-sign him and extend him, what will those numbers look like? I hope they re-sign him. So Josh Capo is kind of like the cap specialist, the cap analyst over at Pewter Report. If you're not following him, you should follow him at Josh_Capo. He's really, really good at what he does. He pretty much, for the most part, gets these contract projections on the spot to a T, and a few of them he got them pretty, absolutely spot on. So go follow Josh_Capo. Really good Bucs follow. Probably the best cap guy in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Twitter realm or X realm. So he projected that tight end Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys would receive a 4-year, $52 million contract, and it will come out to about $13 million a year. And then on July 27th, what was that? Pretty shortly, early last week, Jake Ferguson signs for a 4-year, $52 million contract extension with the Dallas Cowboys. So Josh Capo was 100% on the point there. So why is the Jake Ferguson contract, extension, why is that important? Well, Josh Capo projected that Cade Otton's contract would be the exact same contract. He projected that Cade Otton would receive a 4-year, $52 million contract, which comes out to $13 million a year. Now, when you look at their stats, both are guys who were drafted in the 4th round of the 2022 draft. So both are 4th round draft picks, and their stats are pretty much identical. So if you look at Jake Ferguson's stats, he's been and this is going to be his 4th year. So he's been in the NFL for 3 years now. He's had 3 seasons under his belt. So in total, he's had 149 receptions, 1,429 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. So you compare those over to Cade Otton's stats, and Cade Otton has had 148 receptions, 1 less reception than Jake Ferguson, 1,446 receiving yards, which is about close to 20 more receiving yards than Jake Ferguson. And he's had 10 touchdowns over his career, where Jake Ferguson has had 7 touchdowns over his career. So this is the contract template for Cade Otton. If the Buccaneers want to re-sign Cade Otton, which I hope they do, I believe they will. He's a really good, dependable tight end for the Buccaneers. He continues to work on his craft, continues to get better as a blocker, a route runner, a catcher, a leader also on this Buccaneers offense. I believe they will re-sign him, and this will be the contract. I think Josh Capo will have another one where he's 100% on point. This will be a 4-year, $52 million contract for Cade Otton, which comes out to $13 million a year. Now, that might sound high, and it is high, it is high at $13 million, but this is the market for a player with his production, with his stats. So, I think most Buccaneers fans will be on board with a Cade Otton re-signing. And Mike Greenberg, he knows how to work the cap. He might put, a few void years at the end, spread out the money a little bit longer. That's the Buccaneers. They with Mike Greenberg in the front office, and Jackie and Jason Light, his whole front office crew, they're really good at making sure the Buccaneers are always in a good cap position, even when they had to pay off the credit card from the Super Bowl year when he had Tom Brady and all the players that they came back and re-signed, the Ryan Jensen early retirement, all those things. The Buccaneers always find a way, and this is a big future contract for Cade Otton, but I'd rather him sign it with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and go play for someone else. Let's get to our next headline. So Madden released all the ratings for all Buccaneers players and all NFL players recently. Last episode, if you remember, I did this little exercise where I had Grok AI predict the Madden 26 ratings for all the Buccaneers 2025 draft selections. It got pretty close. For example, only one was absolutely spot on. Benjamin Morrison, AI predicted that Benjamin Morrison was going to have a 75 overall rating in Madden, and he did have a 75 overall Madden rating. Mecca Buka, he was predicted to have a 78 overall rating, ends up having the same as Benjamin Morrison, a 75. You have Tez Johnson and Elijah Roberts, both predicted to be under 69, but they both were 69 here in the real official ratings. And then Jacob Parrish, he is a 74 overall in the game. So there was all the release of all the Madden ratings. It was really exciting to see. I'm a big Madden guy. I'm thinking about starting a Madden 26 rebuild where I rebuild franchises and I put out those type of videos. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comments, but I'm really excited to do that possibly in the future here. Who was the top rated Buccaneers player in Madden 26 here? Tristan Wirfs, who I believe is the best left tackle, best offensive lineman in the league. He comes in as a 96 overall. So super good rating for Tristan Wirfs there. He should have been over Lane Johnson, I believe, a part of the 99 club, but he'll work his way up, and possibly next year, if he comes back from this injury and he's back to Tristan Wirfs' normal production level, I think he will be a 99 overall next year. Mike Evans entering year number 12. Yes, year number 12. He's going to be 32 real soon. He has a 93 overall rating in Madden, so really strong grade for him there. He comes out as the 7th ranked wide receiver in Madden this year. Vita Vea comes in as the 3rd overall player, also adding 93. Super solid rating for Vita Vea. He's the 5th ranked defensive tackle in the league, and the second strongest. He has the second strongest strength rating in the game. So really good there. Antoine Winfield Jr. I think Antoine Winfield Jr. was too low in my prediction. Now this is a what have you done for me lately type of league. Antoine Winfield, of course, he was hampered by some injuries last year. Ankle, foot, knee problems last year. Kept him out for I believe 8 games last year. He has a 91 overall rating. Now, Mike Evans, Vita Vea, and Antoine Winfield Jr. are all superstar X Factor players, so that is their depth trait. So they're going to produce. They're going to have special abilities in the game, of course. Antoine Winfield Jr. comes out to be the 6th ranked safety in the league. I think he's the first when he's fully healthy and he's playing at his normal production level. I call him Mr. Effort. He's a guy who never gives up on a play. I was really excited to see him out there in training camp. Looked really good. Levante David, the ageless wonder. He comes out as an 88 overall at the inside linebacker position in Madden. Good rating there. He's the 5th ranked linebacker in the game. So Madden put some respect on his name. He still has a good rating, even though he is slowing down a bit. If we're being realistic, he is slowing down a bit. Not drastically, but he is taking little steps. This might be his last year. He's an aging veteran, but he still produces at a very high level for the Buccaneers and for this defense. Bucky Irvin comes in at a 87 overall. He's a really shifty player, had a great season last year. I'm excited to see, can he build on that production he had last year, this year. This one was a bit surprising. Jamel Dean comes out as a 86 overall in the Madden game. So Jamel Dean, he is a good corner. He's a really good corner. But the problem has been with Jamel Dean, can he stay healthy? He can never seem to stay healthy. But when he's on the field, he is a good player. I don't know if he's an 86 overall. I would have had him more closer to like 82, 81 in that kind of range. But, that was a surprising one. He is good and productive. He needs to catch interceptions. That has always been a pitfall. So interceptions, lack of his catches there, and his health have always been problems for Jamel Dean. But can he stay healthy this year? He looks motivated out there. He has Benjamin Morrison pushing him for his starting job. So competition, can it push Jamel Dean to be the best Jamel Dean that we have seen so far? Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield comes in at an 85 overall rating. So Baker Mayfield is ranked very high. The offense as a whole is also ranked 85 overall. The Buccaneers have the 10th best ranked offense in the Madden game this year. Really good to see that. It also looks like they gave Baker Mayfield the superstar dev trait. So he has pass lead elite and inside deadeye. So really good rating there for Baker Mayfield. He finally has a superstar dev trait. So really good job there from EA Sports with Baker Mayfield. Chris Godwin Jr. comes in at an 85 overall. Luka Decky 82 overall. Yaya Diaby comes in at an 80. Cy McCollum comes in at an 80. So all those players were the 80 and above players that I went over here. Who is the lowest ranked Buccaneers player? You have Evan Deckers. They finally have the long snapper position in the game. Evan Deckers comes in as a 58 overall long snapper. So you expect your lowest rated player to be in Madden to be a long snapper here. Kyle Trask. This one is interesting. Madden has Kyle Trask at a 59 overall, and backup quarterback Michael Pratt also at a 59 overall. So while I was out there in training camp, I know Kyle Trask coming off the last Buccaneers practice, he looked lights out. He was good there, but overall, from what I've seen from him, he's caused too many turnovers in practice. He hasn't looked impressive to me. So he's a guy who, as always, what can Kyle Trask do if he was out there? Kyle Trask, to me, he's a guy that you would like to see out there only like if the Buccaneers have a big blowout lead, or if you need to have there in a game, if Baker Mayfield's hurt and he's a short-term answer, maybe 1-2 games. At this moment, I don't think that he is a long-term answer. If Baker Mayfield got hurt for an extended period of time, I don't know if Kyle Trask can fill those shoes, effectively and have the Buccaneers, continue to fight for a playoff spot or to win the division. Devin Cope. Devin Cope has been a standout player for me. He's a very fast tight end. He comes in at a 62 overall. I think that's going to bump up a bit this year, throughout the year with his play, but he has a 90 speed rating. Remember, he is a fast tight end. I believe he ran a 4.47 40 time. So these are the Madden ratings. You can look at the full list of the Madden ratings at the EA Madden 26 website. They have all the ratings for every single player in the entire league. You can see their dev traits. You can see all these specific stats like man coverage grade, zone coverage grade, catching, everything, speed, acceleration, all that stuff on the Madden website. But I'm really excited for Madden to come out. Again, I'm really interested to possibly start up some kind of Madden, rebuild where I take bad franchises and I try to rebuild them and win a Super Bowl in a quick time period. So if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments below. Let's get to our next headline. This offseason, NFL teams have been pushing out alternative uniforms like crazy. We know the Buccaneers released recently their white creamsicle. They call them the 76 jersey. They're very clean, very nice. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through there's been so far 8 full alternative uniforms that have been released. Now we have some helmets like the Buffalo Bills released. They're red, it's really nice. They're red helmet. You have the Saints released also their white helmet this offseason. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank the full uniform. So if a team released a uniform, that is what I'm going to rank here from worst. Let's going to start off worst to best. Let's do that. So from 8 being the worst to number 1 being the best, I'm going to go through and I'm going to give my best unbiased opinion. I know the Buccaneers, I'm close to Buccaneers here, but I'm going to try to give the best, unbiased ranking that I possibly can. So at number 8, I have the Packers. The Packers new alternative uniforms. They're their throwback uniforms. They're deep throwback uniforms. 1923 throwback uniforms. Now, when they were playing in 1923, they were wearing the leather helmets. They weren't wearing, the Riddell helmets or any of these Axiom helmets. They're wearing leather helmets. So what the Packers, this is why I have them ranked at number 8 in terms of this is the worst uniform. And it's not because of the jersey. I like the navy blue. I like the yellow font, the yellow stripes on the side of the shoulders. But the helmet, what they decided to do was paint the leather straps and make the helmet look like it was a leather helmet, and I think that's a very bad look. To me, it doesn't come out correctly. It looks off. It looks like cheap. It doesn't look good to me. So that's why I have the Packers and their alternative uniforms as the worst. Now, if their helmet wasn't that bad, I don't know what the solution is here. Because if you go, I think possibly going brown and just doing a matte brown, maybe that will look a bit better. I know before in the past they've done like a glossy brown with these uniforms. That doesn't look good. But I think maybe a matte brown would have looked a little bit better here. But the way that these were executed, they don't look good. The leather, just never do this again. Okay, Packers, never do this again if you can. All right. At number 7 now, okay, so the Packers are the worst. At number 7, I have the New Orleans Saints, their new alternative uniforms. The gold just looks off. It doesn't look good. It looks, to me, it looks bad. You have the gold shirt, you have the black pants. Now, they did release a helmet that I really like. The white helmet before this was released. The white helmet, and I thought, maybe, I know they have the white uniform, but maybe the next alternative uniform is going to go along with that helmet. But the new alternative uniform, I don't like it. The gold is off. It's not the traditional Saints gold. It's lighter. It's like a lighter shade. It's like watered down, diluted. But I don't really like these at all. So I have them at number 7. The Saints, I thought they were going to go on a good path because they had the white helmets, but they just went down a dark, bad path. They're going to be losing, not in style anymore. They're going to be losing in the worst, alternative uniforms, the second worst alternative uniforms in the league. At number 6, the Cleveland Browns released an all brown uniform, and it doesn't look good. They're just mundane. They're like dull. There's nothing to them. I like their when they brought back the stripes on the side. Their base uniforms, their away and home uniforms look really good. But these are just like, if you remember the Color Rush uniforms on Thursday Night Football, these are just all brown. There's nothing to them. There's no character to them. You don't have the stripes on the sides anymore. The only stripes you have are across, the top of the helmet. I think with the stripes on the side, these would have looked a lot better. But it's just, there's nothing to them. It's just one color. And there's the numbers are just orange. There's no like outside lining. There's really no extra, nothing to make it pop. And I think that this one is a big miss in my opinion. They could have made it look really, really good, but they missed with no more details. This one is one I definitely do not like. All right, so that was number 6. You have the Steelers. The Steelers released some uniforms. And I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it look like, this is like you have, Pittsburgh, blue collar. When you think about Pittsburgh, you think about blue collar workers, hard nosed, workers, people, bring their lunch pail to work, they're going to get things done, So this was a throwback to their 1933 uniform. So the uniform in the inside, you have white numbers, you have the yellow shirt. It's like khaki tan pants, but I don't like the little, they have like this minor thing. I don't know what this is, steel mill. I don't know what this design they were going for here now. It's a throwback to their 1933 uniforms, but it just, to me, it doesn't look good in the modern era. Now, I do like, this is why I ranked them as the fifth ranked uniform. I do like the helmet. The helmet is really nice. The all yellow helmet with the Steelers logo on the side. I believe it's a gray, like a little silver face mask. The helmet is what saves this entire uniform, and it's what really pushes it above the Browns uniform or above the Saints uniform. So for me, that is the 5th best uniform that came out, and what is that? That would be the 4th worst alternative uniform that has came out this off season. All right, at number 4, I have the yellow Chargers. And I know this one, a lot of people didn't like the yellow Chargers uniforms, but I like them. They look like summer. They look fresh. They look nice to me. They're clean. I really like these uniforms. You have the yellow, you have the white font for the numbers with a like light blue, their electric blue outline. They have the Chargers boats on the outside. It goes along with a white helmet with a yellow face mask. I like these. I know a lot of people didn't like them. I've seen some people compare them to like mustard. It's kind of like the Color Rush Thursday Night Football uniforms. But these are, to me, in my opinion, they're very clean, very nice. They feel like refreshing. They're very, very nice to look at. They're nice uniforms overall. So I have them ranked as the 4th overall uniform. All right, number 3, the Washington Commanders. They released an alternative uniform this offseason too. I've talked about them a few weeks ago. But they call these the Super Bowl era uniforms. And it's basically just the Washington Redskins uniform, but with a W on the side. I think these should be their main uniforms. They're super clean. They're nice. Jaden Daniels, a whole crew that could be winning in style. I really like these uniforms. It's just the Sean Taylor, the Sean Taylor uniforms. Those really good, nice. They're clean. They're simple overall. I think these should be the Washington Commanders base uniforms. They should get rid of the uniforms that they're currently wearing. I don't like those at all. I don't like they have one with like the font for the numbers are really weird and it's like fading away, kind of like the Falcons uniform, the one that like blends into the next color. I don't know. I don't like it really. But the Super Bowl era uniforms, they're my 3rd. I have them ranked as the 3rd best alternative uniform released this offseason. Number 2, so you only have left, you have the navy blue Chargers and you have the Buccaneers white creamsicles. I like both of them a lot. These are my top 2. I think it's mostly like 1A, 1B. But I have the Chargers coming in at number 2 here. So the Chargers navy blue uniforms. Anytime I see these, I think about Antonio Gates. I think about LaDainian Tomlinson, really good running back for the Chargers. I remember playing with him in Madden, and that was my go-to running back. Him and Adrian Peterson. But these look tough. They look mean. So whereas the yellow ones look fresh, inviting, they look nice. These look mean. They look menacing. They look like they have some power behind them. I really like these navy blue Chargers alternative uniforms. They're straight out of the 90s. They look really, really nice. They're a true modern throwback here. And of course, number 1, the best alternative uniform released this offseason. It is the white Buccaneers creamsicle uniforms. They're too clean to not have as number 1. The Buccaneers are only going to wear them this year, and then you're not going to see them again for who knows how long, maybe ever. But the Buccaneers will wear them week 3 against the New York Jets, and they're also going to wear them on week 5 against the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seattle Seahawks game is going to look really nice also because it's going to have the Seahawks in their throwback uniforms and the Buccaneers in their throwback uniforms. Both teams that came in 1976 celebrating their 50th overall season. So it's going to look really nice. Again, some of these don't look good. I think part of the problem is when you allow teams to have extra helmets, have new alternative uniforms, you're going to have a lot of teams or a good amount of teams that don't produce good uniforms. They don't create good uniforms. And the Packers I'm sorry, but I have the Packers. For any Green Bay fans out there, I have the Packers, their uniforms as the worst in the league. New alternative uniforms are the worst in the league because of those fake leather helmets that don't look nice at all. So this is my opinion. These are my rankings. Let me know in the comments below how you would rank these brand new alternative uniforms. Thank you. Bucs fans, thank you so much for watching this video. Buccaneers football is back. August 9th, you have the Buccaneers taking on the Tennessee Titans in Tampa for the first preseason game. So I'm really excited for Buccaneers football to be officially back. It's in the preseason form, but Buccaneers football is Buccaneers football and it is back. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, please like. Those things help out a lot. When you subscribe, you're notified every time I upload a video. And when you do those types of things, when you engage with the content, YouTube pushes this out to more Buccaneers fans like yourself. So I want to thank all the new subscribers that I have on this channel now and all the new subscribers that we're going to get in the future. I'm really excited to continue this. This has always been a dream of mine, creating Buccaneers content. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate you all. You are the heartbeat of Fear the Bay. Thank you guys. I'm Daniel Morales, signing out.